Stop. If you're a UK pensioner, the next 60 seconds could put hundreds of pounds directly into your bank account that you didn't even know you were entitled to. January 2026 has brought a massive DWP shakeup, and thousands of pensioners across Britain are missing out on extra payments simply because they don't know these benefits exist. We're talking about cold weather payments, pension credit top-ups, and cost of living support that could add up to over $1,000 this year alone. Here's what's shocking. The DWP estimates that nearly 800,000 eligible pensioners aren't claiming what's rightfully theirs. That's money sitting there with your name on it, but if you don't claim it in the next few weeks, you could lose it forever. Whether you're on the state pension, claiming pension credit, or receiving any disability benefits, there are brand new payment schemes rolling out right now that could dramatically boost your income. Some of these are automatic, but others require you to take action immediately. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly which payments you qualify for, the precise amounts you could receive, how to claim them step by step, and the critical deadlines you absolutely cannot miss. I've done all the research so you don't have to wade through confusing government websites. If this information helps you or someone you know, smash that like button right now. Let's make sure every pensioner gets what they deserve. Right. Let's dive straight into what's happening with these DWP updates, because time is genuinely of the essence here, and I want to make absolutely certain you don't miss out on a single penny that belongs to you. The Department for Work and Pensions has rolled out several significant changes this January, and the problem is that they're not exactly shouting about them from the rooftops. You need to know what's available, you need to know if you qualify, and most importantly, you need to know how to actually get your hands on this money. Let me start with something that affects millions of pensioners right across the United Kingdom, and that's the pension credit system. Now, I know what you're thinking because I hear it all the time. You might assume you earn just a bit too much to qualify for pension credit, or perhaps you think the application process is too complicated, or maybe you applied years ago and were told you weren't eligible. Here's the thing, though. The thresholds have changed. The calculations have been updated, and what wasn't true for you 3 years ago might be completely different today. Pension credit is worth an average of £3,600 per year, and it's not just about the money itself. Once you're receiving pension credit, it opens the door to a whole range of other benefits and support schemes that can make a massive difference to your quality of life. The standard minimum guarantee for pension credit is currently set at £218.15 per week if you're single, and that jumps to £332.95 for couples. Now, these figures represent the minimum income the government believes you need to live on, so if your weekly income falls below these amounts, pension credit will top you up to reach them. But here's where it gets really interesting, and where so many people miss out. There are additional amounts added on top of these basic figures depending on your circumstances. If you have a severe disability, you could get an extra £81.50 added to your weekly amount. If you're a carer, there's another £46.04 available each week. These additions stack up incredibly quickly, and suddenly you're looking at substantial sums of money that could transform your financial situation. What absolutely baffles me is that the government's own figures show that approximately 800,000 pensioners who are eligible for pension credit simply aren't claiming it. That's billions of pounds of unclaimed benefits sitting in government coffers when it should be in the pockets of the people who've worked hard all their lives and deserve that support. The reasons for this are varied. Some people don't realize they qualify because they have a small private pension or a bit of savings. Others find the application process intimidating or worry that applying might affect other benefits they're receiving. Let me be crystal clear about this. If there's even the slightest chance you might be eligible, you absolutely must apply. The worst thing that can happen is they say no, but the best thing that could happen is you start receiving thousands of pounds every year that you're entitled to. Now, moving on to something that's particularly relevant right now, given the time of year, let's talk about cold weather payments. These are designed to help you with heating costs during particularly cold periods, and they're paid automatically if you're eligible, but you need to be receiving certain benefits for them to trigger. Each payment is worth £25, and they're made when the average temperature in your area is recorded as or forecast to be 0 degrees Celsius or below for 7 consecutive days. Given the weather patterns we've been experiencing across the UK this winter, many areas have already triggered multiple payments, and there could be more to come over the next few months. Here's what you need to understand about cold weather payments. They're linked to your postcode, so the weather station nearest to you determines whether your area qualifies. You can actually check online which weather station covers your postcode and see the temperature data for yourself. If you're receiving pension credit, income-related employment and support allowance, income support, income-based job seekers allowance, or universal credit and you meet certain conditions, these payments should come through automatically. The key word there is should, because sometimes things go wrong, payments don't arrive when they should, and if you're not keeping track, you might not even realize you've been shortchanged. I want to talk about something else that's causing confusion right now, and that's the Warm Home Discount Scheme. This is a one-off payment of £150 applied directly to your electricity bill, and the scheme has been expanded for this winter. Previously, around 2.2 million households benefited from this scheme, but that number has increased significantly. The payment is made between October and March, so we're right in the window where these should be going out. If you receive the guarantee credit element of pension credit, you should automatically qualify for what's called the core group, and you'll receive this discount without needing to apply. However, if you're on a low income but don't receive pension credit, you might still qualify under the broader group, though spaces are limited and it's first come, first served. The frustrating thing about the Warm Home Discount is that different energy suppliers have different application processes and deadlines. Some have already closed their application windows for this year, while others are still accepting applications. You need to contact your energy supplier directly to find out their specific process, and I can't stress enough how important it is to do this immediately if you haven't already, because once their allocation is gone, that's it until next year. £150 off your electricity bill might not sound life-changing, but when you're trying to keep warm through a British winter on a fixed income, it absolutely makes a difference. Let me address something that I know concerns a lot of pensioners, and that's the attendance allowance. This benefit is for people who are state pension age or older and need help with personal care or supervision because of an illness or disability. The crucial thing to understand about attendance allowance is that it's not means-tested, which means your income and savings don't matter. You could have a decent pension coming in and substantial savings in the bank, and you can still claim attendance allowance if you meet the care needs criteria. There are two rates available. The lower rate is currently £72.65 per week if you need help or supervision during the day or night, and the higher rate is £108.55 per week if you need help both day and night or if you're terminally ill. What many people don't realize is that attendance allowance isn't just for people who are receiving formal care from professional carers or living in care facilities. It's for anyone who needs help with everyday tasks because of their physical or mental condition. This could include help with washing, dressing, eating, getting in and out of bed, taking medication, or avoiding danger. It also covers people who need someone to supervise them to keep them safe. If you have conditions like arthritis, heart disease, breathing difficulties, mobility problems, mental health conditions, or any combination of health issues that mean you genuinely need assistance with daily activities, you should absolutely be looking into attendance allowance. The application form can seem daunting because it asks for a lot of detail about your condition and how it affects you, but this is actually to your advantage. The more detail you provide about your worst days and the genuine difficulties you face, the better chance you have of being awarded the benefit. Don't be British and stoic about this. Don't downplay your struggles or try to put a brave face on things. The assessors need to understand the reality of your situation on your bad days, not just how you manage on your good days. I always recommend that people applying for attendance allowance keep a diary for a couple of weeks before filling in the form, noting down every time they need help or struggle with something, because when you're sitting there with the form in front of you, it's easy to forget all the little ways your condition affects you throughout each day. Now, if you're already receiving certain disability benefits, your situation might have changed recently due to DWP updates on payment rates. The annual uprating that happens each April affects most benefits, but there can also be interim changes and corrections. I've heard from viewers who've noticed small increases in their payments without really understanding why, and others who feel they should have received increases but haven't seen anything change. It's worth checking your bank statements carefully over the past few months to see if there have been any adjustments to your payments, and if something doesn't seem right or if you're expecting a change that hasn't materialized, that's when you need to contact the DWP directly to query it. Let's talk about housing benefit and council tax reduction, because these are two more areas where pensioners often miss out on support they're entitled to. If you're renting your home and you're on a low income, housing benefit can help pay your rent. The amount you get depends on your income, your rent amount, and who lives with you. Similarly, council tax reduction, which used to be called council tax benefit, can reduce your council tax bill by up to 100%. These are administered by your local council rather than the DWP, and every council has slightly different schemes and application processes, which I think contributes to the confusion and the low take-up rates. The important thing to understand is that these aren't automatic. Even if you're receiving pension credit and other benefits, you still need to apply separately to your local council for housing benefit and council tax reduction. Your council should have an online application system, or you can request a paper form if you prefer. The application will ask about your income, savings, rent, or council tax amount, and household composition. It might seem intrusive, but they need this information to calculate what you're entitled to. If you're struggling to afford your rent or council tax, please don't just struggle on in silence. Apply for this help. It exists specifically to support people in your situation. Something that's been in the news recently is the Household Support Fund, which is a pot of money given to local councils by the government to help people who are struggling with the cost of living. Each council decides how to distribute their allocation, and some are targeting pensioners specifically with grants for food, energy costs, and other essentials. The fund has been extended multiple times, and there's currently funding available until March 2026. However, not all councils are advertising this support widely, and many people have no idea it even exists. I strongly encourage you to visit your local council's website or call them directly to ask what support is available through the Household Support Fund. Some councils have online application forms, others have phone lines, and some are even doing outreach in local communities to identify people who need help. For those of you who are caring for someone, whether that's a spouse, a partner, or someone else, you might be entitled to carer's allowance. Now, I know this video is primarily focused on support for pensioners themselves, but many pensioners are also carers, and carer's allowance is worth £78.60 per week. To qualify, you need to be caring for someone for at least 35 hours per week, and they need to be receiving certain disability benefits like attendance allowance or the middle or highest rate of disability living allowance care component. There are some rules around earnings that might affect you, and if you're already receiving a state pension, you won't get carer's allowance on top, but you might get a carer's addition added to your pension credit if you're receiving that. Here's something really important that catches people out. Sometimes claiming one benefit can affect another benefit you're receiving, and the interactions between different benefits can be complex. For instance, if you start receiving attendance allowance, it might increase the amount of pension credit you're entitled to because attendance allowance is disregarded when calculating pension credit income. However, it might affect housing benefit calculations depending on your specific circumstances. This is why I always recommend speaking to a benefits advisor at Citizens Advice, Age UK, or another reputable advice service before making major changes to your benefits situation. These organizations offer free, impartial advice, and they can help you understand the implications of claiming new benefits and ensure you're getting everything you're entitled to without accidentally creating problems elsewhere. Let me share something that really frustrates me, and that's the way the DWP communicates, or rather fails to communicate, with pensioners about changes and entitlements. You're supposed to receive letters when payment rates change or when you might be eligible for new support, but these letters are often full of jargon. They're not always sent out when they should be, and sometimes they end up lost in the post or mistaken for junk mail. This means the responsibility falls on you to stay informed and proactive about your entitlements, which frankly isn't fair when we're talking about people who've already spent decades contributing to this system. This is exactly why I create this content and why your support through likes and shares is so valuable. The algorithms need to know that this information matters, so it reaches more of the people who desperately need it. Every person who watches this video and discovers they're entitled to support they weren't claiming is a win, but there are millions more out there who still don't know, and we need to reach them somehow. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Make sure you claim everything you're entitled to, and I'll see you in the next one.